Story 1, Random Access Memories. It's like every track was handcrafted by musical scientists in a lab who knew exactly how to make you feel cool, introspective, and nostalgic all at once. Story 2, it ebbs and flows so casually, gracefully, and effortlessly. Like other classics mentioned here, it is more than the sum of its parts. If I hear any song from that album on the radio, my head starts playing the next track as it finishes, and I'm mildly disappointed with whatever comes on instead. I feel a little sad that my rock-loving child flicks from artist to artist on Spotify and isn't forced by the available technology of the day to experience the fluid continuum of an album like this one, the overall collective shaped and inexorably linked by a specific time, place, and cultural context. I would have done the same, I suppose, if that was an option when I was a kid, but the nostalgic joy of seeing an album cover and being fully transported back to the bedrooms and bars of 2001 is something I feel lucky to experience. Story 3, Kind of Blue Miles Davis. I Love Supreme, John Coltrane. Loaded Velvet Underground. Rumors Fleetwood Mac. Unknown Pleasures, Joy Division. Rocket to Russia, The Ramones. Illmatic Nas. Remain in Light, Talking Heads. London Calling, The Clash. Story 4, Revolver by the Beatles. Not only is it a collection of catchy, memorable melodies, it's a marvel of late 1960s music production. They only had 4 tracks, and they created these incredibly layered audio landscapes. Put everyone on their heels. The Rolling Stones and the Beach Boys were all playing catch-up after Revolver and set the stage for the psychedelic 1960s era that is still being imitated. Story 5, Rush Moving Pictures. Steely Dan, Aja. Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. Queens of the Stone Age Songs for the Deaf. Rage Against the Machine, Rage Against the Machine. Story 6. Lots of great albums already. Here are a few I've listened to again recently that I don't think I've seen mentioned. Talk Talk, Spirit of Eden. Paul Simon, Graceland. Muse, Origin of Symmetry. Aphex Twin. Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92. Burial, Untrue. Daniel Avery, Drone Logic. Rage Against the Machine, Rage Against the Machine. Portishead, Dummy. The Prodigy, Music for the Jilted Generation. Story 7, My Picks Are the Glow Point. 2 by the Microphones. Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. Oklahoma Computer by Radiohead. F Sharp A Sharp Infinity by Godspeed You Black Emperor. And Blonde by Frank Ocean. Story 8, Collide with the Sky, Pierce the Veil. Hybrid Theory, Linkin Park. Get Rich or Die Tryin', 50 Cent. The Eminem Show, Eminem. Nevermind, Nirvana. The Black Parade, My Chemical Romance. Enema of the State, Blink 182. Hellbilly Deluxe, Rob Zombie. And I hate to say it, but I enjoyed every song from 1989 by Taylor Swift. Story 9, Back in Black by AC/DC. This album defined rock and roll for a generation. With its electrifying riffs and anthemic choruses, every track is a banger. You Shook Me All Night Long is one of the ultimate party songs, and the energy is infectious throughout the entire album. Story 10, U2, The Joshua Tree. U2, Achtung Baby. 21 Pilots, Trench. Hawthorne Heights, Silence in Black and White. Taking Back Sunday, Where You Wanna Be. Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. Story 11, 3 Days Grace 1X. Bad Omens, The Death of Peace of Mind. Architects, For Those That Wish to Exist. Bring Me the Horizon, Sempiternal. Gajira, From Mars to Sirius. The Plot in You, Dispose. Motionless in White Disguise. I Prevail, Trauma. I Might Be a Metalcore Listener. Story 12, Bewitched Luna. Armed Forces, Elvis Costello. The Swinging Mr. Rogers. Time Further Out, Dave Brubeck. The Who Sell Out, Elvis at Sun. Station to Station, David Bowie. Story 13, The Race for Space by Public Service Broadcasting. Not the most well-known album, but it's an audio experience that tells the race for space in a very interesting way. Try the song Go, which is probably the highlight of the album and is about the landing of Apollo 11 in a really fun way. If you like that, listen to the whole album in one sitting. Story 14, Tool, Anima. 9 Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral. Fiona Apple, Extraordinary Machine. Metallica, and Justice for All. Rem, Life's Rich Pageant. DJ Shadow. Introducing. Run DMC. Raising Hell. Story 15. The Jam Setting Suns. ABBA the Album. James Lade. REM. Automatic for the People. Fleetwood Mac Rumors. Cast All Change. Levelers Leveling the Land. Story 16. The Stage by Avenged Sevenfold. It's the most experimental that Avenged Sevenfold had gotten up to that point. Their latest release, Life is But a Dream, goes a tad too far as I care, but I still love it to bits. Musically, all songs are outstanding. Technical drumming and skilled guitar work, alongside a slew of other instruments for some songs, but that is not what sold me on it. The lyrical content was. The whole album is about how we as humans fill our space in the wider world and universe, and the problems we have created through scientific advancement, and might still create. The first song, aptly titled The Stage, sets the stage for the rest of the album. It tells of the innumerable atrocities and acts of violence humans have done in the name of their countries, kings, and gods, acting as mere puppets to a greater power. The second song is Paradigm, a song that makes me think of how scientific advancement may lead to unnaturally long lifespans in the near future, but at the cost of what made life worth living: death. Enhancing ourselves mechanically through nanotechnology to the point where you might not be able to differentiate yourself from a machine any longer. Thirdly, we have my favorite song, Sunny Disposition. This one is about nuclear war and how the people that press the buttons to launch the missile do so with no regard to the regular people they might end up hitting with the blasts. It also paints a vivid picture of how militaristic nations make their population live in abhorrent conditions, while the elite live lavishly. Also, the trumpets, man, they hit hard. God Damn is next as a refute of nationalism and blindly following whatever the government and media tell you. The part that gets to me the most is the lyrics in the bridge and how the instrumentation changes to a more acoustic sound for a few seconds. Creating God is also one of my favorites on the album. It tells a story of how humanity finally decided to pull the trigger on genetic modification in humans, and how the divide between enhanced humans and regular ones will cause the end of humanity as we know it. Also, the lyric "a little kick in the pool shouldn't do us wrong" is just amazing. Next is Angels. It's a bit of a thematic departure from the rest of the album, and I do like the song, but it feels like a weaker link to the rest of the greatness this album holds. This main theme is regret. This might just be the regret that we as humanity might have if we don't reach for the stars and aim to make civilization the best we can, but that is stretching it as far as I care. If you take it more at face value as a song about regret, it is still a great piece of music with a lot of emotion in it, so it doesn't necessarily take away from the album's total score. Simulation is, as you might guess, about a person stuck in a simulation of the real world. The cracks have started to show, and reality as they know it is crumbling around them. They find themselves to be a sort of test subject that has been pumped full of drugs to keep them in their fake world. And in the end, no matter what they do, they cannot escape. I'm just a sucker for a song with a Matrix vibe. Then comes Higher, a song about an astronaut in a spacecraft that went off course in the solar system. There is no longer any power to divert the ship, and they are waiting for the end to come, lamenting the fact that they're facing certain death, but glad they will get to join someone they loved in death, whom they likely lost to a launching accident. It's really emotional, and though at first I really didn't like it just as I did with Angels, I've come around in the past 8 years since release. Roman Sky is next, and is a stark departure from the heavy metal we've enjoyed so far. It's a rather melancholic song about an unnamed astronomer from long ago that wanted to show the world how the solar system was put together, and how we are but a small piece of a much larger universe. But the church, stuck in its ways, ended up executing this man for heresy. At first I thought this was about Galileo, but as he wasn't put to death by the church, that didn't seem right. And as others have found, it was actually about Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake in Rome in the 1600s. Truly a chilling song. Fermi Paradox is the penultimate track on the album, which is about, you guessed it, the Fermi Paradox. In simple terms, the paradox claims that in a near infinitely large universe, life cannot be unique to our planet alone. It must have happened elsewhere too. But then why are there no other signs of life elsewhere? Is it because no civilization has gotten further than claiming its own planet? Is it because other ones have died off? Or is it because we are the first and maybe the most advanced? I guess we'll never know in our lifetimes. And then, to finish it off, we have probably the most epic song on the album, Exist. This song embodies the past, present, and future of the universe and the human race within it. It starts before the Big Bang with almost nothing coherent going on, before exploding into a bombastic guitar solo representing the Big Bang and the expansion of the universe. Then, the music calms down and we get our first vocals. This is the present part of the song, though that is taken very liberally. It is about the tiny speck on the timeline that humanity has taken up and how we have grown so much over the past few 100,000 years. Then, when the music picks up again, we get a full speech from Neil deGrasse Tyson about the many struggles of humanity that are keeping us from reaching our full potential as a civilization, and how hope for a better future should be on all of our minds. The song is nearly 16 minutes, but it goes by faster than you realize. Absolutely one of my top picks from the album. All of these songs I hold close to my heart, and give me hope that we as humanity can figure out our differences, get to the root of the problems that face us, and not destroy ourselves. It's a truly inspiring album for a band that hasn't really made anything else that would be considered influential music. Sure, I like their other stuff as well, even going back to their first album, but this album has changed me more as a person than any other piece of media has ever done. And for that, I can't give it a score lower than a 10 out of 10. In summary, it's an album about technology, humanity, and how they mix well and don't. 10 out of 10. Story 17, The Blues Project, Projections. Douji Makrine, Kajidu. Kind of blue, Miles Davis. Suite for flute and jazz piano, Claude Bolling. Judy Collins, Wildflowers. Story 18, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. I'm really surprised no one has said it yet. It is, in my opinion, one of the most important albums of the 20th century. Honorable mention, Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Story 19, On Top of My Head Right Now, OK Computer and Kid A by Radiohead. Origin of Symmetry, Muse. Black Market Music, Placebo. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, Smashing Pumpkins. Nevermind and In Utero, Nirvana. The Weight of Your Love, The Editors. Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous, Michael Jackson. Life in Cartoon Motion, Mika. In Silico, Pendulum. Velocifero, Ladytron. Army of Mushrooms, Infected Mushroom. Arrival, ABBA. Dummy, Portishead. Morning Glory and Definitely Maybe, Oasis. The Fat of the Land, Prodigy. Jagged Little Pill, Alanis Morissette. Story 20. Metalwise, My Opinions. Panopticon, Isis. Opeth, Blackwater Park. The Way of All Flesh, Gajira. Disillusion, I Am. Scamish Triangle. Story 21. Spiderland, Slint. Yank Crime, Drive Like Jehu. I'm not biased by having tattoos inspired by these albums. London Calling, The Clash. Paranoid, Black Sabbath. Story 22. Pretty Odd by Panic at the Disco. Right Thoughts, Right Words, Wrong Order by Franz Ferdinand. Ixnay on the Ombre, The Offspring. The Second Law by Muse. We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank by Modest Mouse. Happiness Ltd. by Hot Hot Heat. Story 23. I'll Go. PJ Harvey, Stories from the City. Stories from the Sea. Radiohead, OK Computer. The Refused, The Shape of Punk to Come. Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. Cheap Trick in Color. Husker Du, New Day Rising. Story 24. Dying Star, Rustin Kelly. I promise you'll love it if you listen. Country hasn't ever been so raw, creative, and honest. It's an album to turn people not into country into listeners. Of Rustin, anyway. Story 25. Nas, It Was Written. Drake, Nothing Was the Same. Jeezy, These Things Happen. Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid. Mad City. These albums I can listen to at any time and understand them very easily since I'm not from America or a native English speaker. Story 26. Most albums listed are some sort of alternative or rock, and while I love rock and saw some tens, a lot of pop suggestions are getting downvoted. Let's expand our taste and not immediately hate pop, guys. I recommend The Family Jewels by Marina and Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. Story 27. Bad Brains Live at the Paradiso. Paul's Boutique. Jar of Flies. Alice in Chains Unplugged. Rage Against the Machine. No Effects, I Heard They Suck Live. The Cranberries. No Need to Argue. Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power. Appetite for Destruction. No Means No. Story 28. On Land and in the Sea and Heaven Born and Ever Bright by Cardiacs. Friend Opportunity by Deerhoof. Odi Shape by the Raincoats. Leaves Turn Inside You by Unwound. Spirit of Eden and Laughing Stock by Talk Talk. Story 29. Headhunters Herbie Hancock. Apostrophe Frank Zappa. Black Radio Robert Glasper. I Lay Down My Life for You, Spegmafia. Collision Course Jay-Z and Linkin Park. Story 30. Ella sings Gershwin, Ella and Lewis, and Ella Fitzgerald sings the Duke Ellington Songbook. Stevie Wonder, Music of My Mind, Talking Book, and Inner Visions. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. The Beatles, SGT. Pepper and Abbey Road. Carole King, Tapestry. The Strokes, Is This It? Radiohead, OK Computer. Keen Hopes and Fears. Coldplay, A Rush of Blood to the Head. Corinne Bailey Rae, Put Your Records On is the worst track in that perfect album. Bangtan Boys, Wings, Love Yourself Answer, and Map of the Soul. I don't skip even one song, making these albums tens. So I count Lin-Manuel Miranda, Moana, and Hamilton. I saw Disintegration mentioned so many times. I didn't know it was that popular. Certainly was an amazing album. Someone mentioned Doolittle. I agree. Story 31. Ladytron Velocifero. Uncle, Where Did the Night Fall? Radiohead in Rainbows / OK Computer. Rage Against the Machine Evil Empire. 9 Inch Nails The Fragile. PJ Harvey Let England Shake. Santa Sabina Babel. Caifanes El Nervio del Volcán. Miles Davis Kind of Blue.